Hello, my name is Amber Holowicki, and this is my second informed speech on the climate change topic. So for this speech, I will be summarizing both the consensus and the minority view and providing there are three main arguments that I found the most interesting throughout our semester. And I will also be giving my views on each argument. Okay, so let's get into that. So the first three arguments I'm going to be giving are for the consensus view. And the consensus view is arguing, saying that humans are releasing a much higher amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. And because of that, the global temperatures are naturally increasing and causing a climate change like problem happening in our world right now. So I'll be showing the arguments that supports that claim. So the first bit of evidence that supports that, I'm actually using this bit of evidence for both sides to show you how different each view has on this one graph. So I'll be showing that. So I'll also be showing the minority views later. But it's called the hockey stick graph. And the hockey stick graph is a temperature predicting graph that was proposed by the climatologist Michael Mann. There are two versions of it, but this one right now that I have on screen is the 2001 version, which is the most recent one. So this graph was, like I said earlier, made by Michael Mann, and he used tree ring data to support the consensus view that global warming is happening and that we need to pay attention to it. It is a very big issue in our lives. And you can clearly see on this graph right here that at the end, there is a drastic spike in temperature as comparison to the 1400s that has been drastically increasing pretty much since the 1800s. It's been increasing, and it also shows so this basically proves that global warming is a big issue. And it also shows the medieval warm period was not global at all. It was a little local thing, was not global at all. So this basically shows that temperatures are increasing and we need to pay attention to it. And another big factor is extreme weather. So essentially what the consensus view is saying is that an increase in global temperatures shows a drastic increase in extreme weather happening, whether it be snowstorms, heat, droughts, rainfall, whatever, cyclones, whatever have you. When there is an increase in temperature, there is an increase in extreme weather. And this is shown by both graphs. As you can see, the red line is the one I found the most interesting. Excuse me. The red line basically showing the increase in the amount of days that have had 30 tornadoes or more over the span of like 55 years. That line has increased dramatically, which I think is insane, how drastically that's increased in such a short amount of time. And these two graphs basically show that obvious relation: increased temperature, increase in global temperature, extreme weather. And obviously that'll cause some threats to environment, people, infrastructure, economics. Basically, extreme weather causes a threat to everything. We know that by now. And thanks to global warming, according to the consensus, the world keeps getting warmer, more dangerous things keep happening. So we need to focus on global warming and fight it as soon as possible, as the consensus view has said. Okay. And the last bit of evidence I'm going to talk about for the consensus view is called the 97% consensus. And this is another image I found while researching this a little bit more. It shows that there are like 5-ish other like surveys or studies that were done that shows that many scientists agree on that human-caused global warming is a thing. 90%, there is no study on this image that is below 90%, which is, I think, is crazy to me. So this clearly supports that supports the consensus in the sense that humans are the main driving factor in global warming, and it needs to be stopped. It needs to be maintained. It needs to be dumbed down. We need to find ways to stop this, because scientists who are the most esteemed people on the matter of global warming, they have credentials, they have spent their lives studying this. If they say it's true, who are people to stop them? And that was essentially all I had for the consensus view. I think they definitely have some strong arguments, especially with the extreme weather. They're definitely showing that global warming is an issue and that we need to pay attention to it. But I think the minority view has a little bit of a stronger take, and I'll get into that. So this is the minority view's take on the hockey stick graph. It's the same graph, but as you can see at the end, it's a little bit different. Like I said earlier, Michael Mann did use tree ring data, but what I didn't mention is that he used 2 data sets, and also that tree ring data is a vastly unreliable source of predicting temperature. What he used, when I said he used 2 data sets, everything you see in gray was what he used for his tree ring data. But at the end, he used temperature ring data. Well, temperature stick data, I think is what it is, which is a vastly much more reliable way to use thermometer temperature, sorry. And at the end, I'll go back a little bit. At the end here in the green is what he used for his temperature stick data. I mean, yes, temperature stick data. And here he used his tree ring data. As you can see, his tree ring data did not at all support the consensus view. In fact, it supports the minority view in the sense that temperatures are not increasing. In fact, they are decreasing. So what he did is that he put the temperature stick data on top of the tree ring data and essentially swapped them to make it seem like his view was correct. Now, this has been discussed many, many times in the past by many, many people. It's a very controversial graph overall, but I just think it's crazy how much controversy this sparked, that this one graph caused. It was insane to hear about all the stuff that happened in relation to this graph. I don't think he should have fudged it, but I think it's just crazy to me, really. And the next two slides are kind of similar, so I'll kind of squish them together. I'll go back and forth. But essentially, in general, there are, when it comes to the consensus view, their models in general evidence are, and their evidence in general possess a lot of discrepancies, mainly in their models. And as we've discussed, data fudging is a very big factor in consensus climate models. Basically, that's what happened with the hockey stick graph. Their data is fudged to support their views. And also there's stuff called by the urban heat island effect, which if there is a temperature reader within like 50-ish miles of an urban area, their temperature is skewed. It's much hotter than it actually should be because of all the cement and asphalt and all that kind of stuff. So because of this, the consensus views points are often shown as to be correct because of all these factors that change the actual results that would normally be there without these factors. And also the great pause is another thing that the consensus view also argues against. The minority view says that we are in a great pause. Well, we were in a great pause from about 1998 to 2016. Temperatures were essentially consistent. They never really changed. And even if they were rising, it was so minuscule that it didn't really matter. And at the bottom, you can see the medieval warm period over there on the left. And on the right was the modern era, which is what we're currently in. If temperatures were increasing, it is so minuscule. Sorry, excuse me, I just ate. Compared to the medieval warm period, that it's basically non-existent. We were in a much, much warmer period many, many years ago, and we're still here. The world was fine right after that. So the minority view is essentially saying, yes, global warming is happening, but it is not to the extent that the consensus view is proposing. It is much, much lower. We should not be as freaked out as the consensus view is saying. Yes, it's happening, but it's not to the extent that they're saying, which I think is, I agree mainly with the minority view. Not 100%, there are still some factors that I'm a little iffy on. But in general, I think the consent is happening. Yes, I do agree with that 100%. But there are some factors where I'm thinking, okay, let's take it back a little bit. But that's my take on this. Yeah, that's it.